Previously, on the Rake. The last tape ended with a click, one that didn't feel like the end, but more like the start of something worse. The distorted voices, the blurred camera feed, the way the figure seemed to learn with every encounter, it all led to one place, one case, one night. This is not another tape. This is not second-hand evidence. What you're about to hear is a direct, unedited emergency call. It was pulled from a locked archive marked Case 452. The official report says it's still under investigation, but I know the truth. They buried it because of what's on this recording. And before we continue, if you've been following this story, if you've felt that slow, creeping dread growing with every chapter, subscribe to the Midnight Codex. This isn't the kind of story you can dip in and out of. You need to hear every detail, because soon, details will be the only way to survive. Now, listen carefully. Don't get distracted, because from here on, every sound matters. Click. The sound was sharp, clean, and then the line opened. A faint hum filled the silence, soft at first, but with a strange weight to it, like the air inside the call had its own gravity. This is 911 Emergency Services. What's your location? The operator's tone was steady, practiced, no hesitation. For a second, there was nothing but breathing on the other end. Shallow, uneven, a quick inhale followed by an even quicker exhale. Then, a man's voice broke through. I think, his words trembled, stretching out, as if even speaking them made things worse. There's someone in my house. There was no panic in his voice, not the kind you'd expect. It wasn't a yell or a desperate shout. It was tight, like every word was fighting its way past clenched teeth, forced through a throat that didn't want to open. The operator kept her voice calm. "Sir, I need you to stay on the line. Are you alone in the house?" "Yes," he said quickly. "Yes, I'm alone. Doors are locked, windows shut." He paused, then his tone shifted, thinning out into something closer to disbelief. "But the air's changed. It's..." A faint static rustled through the call, not loud enough to obscure his words, but enough to make you lean in, like the phone line itself was holding something it didn't want to share. "It's colder now," he continued, "and I can hear breathing, right behind me." The waveform on the operator's console was steady, rising and falling in time with his voice, but behind that, there was something else, almost too low to register, a slow, pulsing tone, like a heartbeat run through a broken speaker. "Sir, I need you to stay calm," the operator said. "Can you turn and see if anyone is there?" I don't want to," he admitted. His breath quickened, hitching on the inhale. "If I turn, it might move." "Sir, I understand. You're scared." "No, you don't?" His voice cracked, and the last word was almost a whisper. "It's not walking. I don't hear footsteps, but I know it's moving." The line stayed open. No sound. Just that deep, almost subsonic hum sliding under the call like a predator keeping pace. The operator typed something, her keystrokes faint in the background. "Sir, what's your name?" He didn't answer right away. You could hear his breath shifting, like he was pressing himself against a wall, trying to make himself smaller. "It's not like a person," he said finally. "When someone walks, you know. The weight, the floorboards, the rhythm, it's just there. One second it's close, the next it's..." He stopped. The hum under the call rose half a tone, almost imperceptible, but enough to make your ears feel heavy. "Sir?" "It's behind me again," he whispered. The operator's voice tightened. "We're sending help. Just stay on the line. Keep describing what's happening." "I can't..." His breathing grew sharper. "If I talk too much, it might hear me." "You said it's not walking?" "Not walking, not crawling, just moving." His voice dropped lower, the words almost swallowed by the hum. "It's like the space between me and it is getting smaller, but it's not crossing it. It's just erasing it." For a moment, the call went dead silent, not even breathing. Then, something shifted. Not on his end, not on the operators. The line itself seemed to ripple. When he spoke again, the whisper was so close it almost bled into the operator's ear. It's not supposed to be here. But it is. The operator glanced at her console. The waveform was clean, no visible distortion. And yet, she could feel it. The call wasn't just connected to his phone anymore. Something else was on the line. He inhaled slowly, deliberately. It's not walking. I don't hear footsteps, but I know it's moving. The hum deepened, almost a growl now, buried in the static. That was the last clear thing he said before the call began to change. Sir, I need your address, so we can send a unit to your location. The operator's voice stayed calm, almost too calm. But beneath it, there was a faint edge. That subtle shift you only hear when the person on the other end isn't reacting the way they should. The man didn't answer. Not right away. Instead, there was a pause. Not the kind you get when someone's thinking. This was different. It was the kind of pause where attention drifts somewhere else entirely, somewhere it shouldn't. His breathing changed, slower at first, then catching, as if he was trying not to inhale too much air at once. The word hung there, unsteady. The rest didn't follow. It just died. The operator tried again, firmer. Sir, I understand you're scared, but I need you to focus. Tell me your location, so we can get help to you. The room's dark, he said suddenly. The words came fast, like he had to force them out. No light, curtains shut, windows locked. He went quieter, not because he was calmer, but because every word was being pressed through clenched teeth. It's just me. But there was a sound in the background, soft, steady, deliberate, not mechanical, not random, something in between. I can feel it breathing, he whispered, right behind my neck, close enough that my hair moves. But when I turned my head, he stopped. The silence stretched. Too long. The operator leaned forward slightly, her tone cautious. What happens when you turn? Nothing, he said finally. His voice was almost gone. There's nothing there. The hum from earlier was still in the call, but now, as he spoke, the waveform on her monitor began to show short, sharp spikes, random, jagged. They didn't match his speech. They didn't match hers. It was something else. The spikes carried no human rhythm. They looked like a language made entirely of interruptions. Sir, I need you to ignore anything you think you hear right now. Give me your street name. No. His answer came quick, but there was no defiance. It was fear, pure, childlike. If I say it, it'll know. It's listening. Sir, we are listening. That's the point. We're here to help you. He gave a short, dry laugh, the kind people make when they're trying to convince themselves of something, but failing. Help. Yeah, like they help the others. Others? The word slipped out before the operator could stop herself. He didn't answer, not right away. There was a rustle, faint but there, like he was leaning against a wall or dragging his shoulder along it. Then, lower, closer to the receiver. It's moving again. His voice had changed. It wasn't trembling now. It was tight, strained, not towards me, not away from me, just around me. The waveform stuttered again, one spike, then another, then three close together, like something tapping directly into the line. Each spike pushed the hum a little higher, closer to the edge of hearing. Describe the room, the operator said. Tell me what you see. I don't see much. It's too dark. Shapes, shadows, but not from the furniture. He inhaled slowly. They don't match. Don't match? The corners aren't right anymore. What do you mean by that? It's like the walls moved, like they're closer, or maybe a pause. Maybe I'm further away. His words came quicker now, not rushed, but chosen carefully, like something in the dark was forcing him to decide, speak fast or don't speak at all. And the breathing, he cut himself off. A new sound bled into the call, faint, but Cold. A single, steady exhale, like air forced through something narrow, and the temperature in the audio dropped. The operator's fingers twitched over the mute button. She didn't press it. She couldn't. "Sir, stay with me, please. Tell me your address." "I told you." His voice cracked, then dropped so low it almost dissolved into the hum. "If I tell you, it'll know where you're coming from, and it will get there first." Another spike, sharper this time, like something on the line wanted to interrupt, but couldn't form the words. "Sir, there is no it," the operator said, but her voice had lost some of its certainty. "You're in shock. We can help you, but you have to let us." "No, no, no," he muttered now. A steady, low rhythm, like repetition might hold something back. Then, a sharp inhale. It just leaned in. The operator's eyes locked on the monitor. The waveform was warping, stretching unnaturally before snapping back. She had never seen a line behave like that, without total signal collapse. "Sir." "Shh." The silence that followed was wrong. She could hear it, faint, but there. Another breath, matching his, just slightly out of sync. And then, one word, spoken so low it almost didn't exist. "Closer." "Sir, what was that?" "It's..." His voice broke again. "It's between us now." Her hand tightened around the headset. "Between us?" "On the line," he said simply. "It's listening to you too." She couldn't verify it, and yet, she didn't doubt it, not for a second. "We can trace this call," she said, forcing her tone to steady, "but you need to give me your address now." "I can't..." His breath dragged over the words. "It's standing right here." "One more time, sir. Where are you?" There was movement, not footsteps, not a shuffle, just the subtle displacement of air, the sound of space being rearranged, without anything crossing it. And then, the whisper. "It knows who I'm talking to." "Sir, I need you to focus on me," the operator said slowly, each word deliberate. "We're going to stay calm. You said you could hear breathing. I want you to describe it to me." There was no answer at first, just that same hollow hum crawling under the line. Then, a faint shift in his breathing, a subtle catch before he finally spoke. "It's cold." His voice was so quiet it almost blended into the noise. "Every inhale, it's like it pulls the heat out of the air. My skin, it prickles every time." He paused, and the sound of his own breath grew sharper, as if talking about it made him more aware. "It's long, too long, like it doesn't need to stop. Just one slow draw of air until you think it can't take more. And then it does." The operator's eyes flicked to her monitor. The waveform was steady when he spoke, but behind his voice, something else began to form. A second signature, not overlapping, but parallel. The pitch was lower, almost a vibration more than a sound. "Is it fast or slow?" she asked. "Slow," he whispered. "Even, too even. No hesitation, no catch, like it's not lungs at all. Just air moving through something narrow, like wind through a crack in the wall, but wetter." She blinked. "Wetter?" "Yeah," he said after a moment, his tone tightening. "There's weight to it, like it's passing over something. Soft. Not dry like your breath when you're cold. It's thicker." The hum under the call deepened, as though reacting to the description, and then the sound arrived. Not faint, not distant. It was there. The microphone picked it up clearly, like it was no more than an inch away. A long, drawn-out inhale that carried no human warmth, followed by a slow exhale that felt heavier than it should, like gravity was pulling the air down. The waveform on her screen jumped, the line thickening, almost shaking with each second of the sound. The operator froze. She had taken hundreds of calls, some with screaming, others with static so bad you could barely make out a voice. But she had never seen a waveform do that, not without distortion tearing it apart. This wasn't distortion. This was pressure. "Sir, how close is it to you right now?" she asked carefully. "Closer than it's ever been." His voice trembled for the first time since they started. It's leaning into the phone. I can feel it, like it knows you're hearing this too. The exhale that followed was even clearer. So close, it might as well have been inside the mic. There was a texture to it, a layered quality, as if more than one breath was being released at the same time. For a moment, it almost sounded like whispers buried inside it. The waveform trembled violently, the jagged peaks like the call itself was recoiling. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. The line didn't go silent, but the presence withdrew. You could hear the shift in space. It was like someone stepping back, but without the footstep. The air simply moved away. The hum returned to its earlier pitch, steady, low, unsettling. It just backed off, he said, voice uneven. Not gone, just out of reach. It does that sometimes. Why? The question slipped out. He hesitated. Maybe it wants me to miss it, to wonder where it went. So when it comes back, it feels closer than before. His words sent a cold shiver down the operator's spine. She didn't believe him. She didn't want to believe him, but she could hear in his tone that this wasn't guessing. He knew. She took a slow breath. Sir, can you see it right now? No. His reply came quick. And that's worse. Why? Because when I do see it, I know where it is. When I don't, it could be anywhere. The hum under the line began to pulse, faint, rhythmic, not in time with either of their breathing, its own pace, its own cycle. Sir, focus on what you can sense. Is it moving now? There was a pause, a faint creak of wood. Not walking, not crawling, but the air in front of me feels thicker, like something is there, pressing it forward. My ears, they feel full, like when you're too deep underwater. The operator didn't answer right away. She was staring at the waveform again. The spikes had returned, only now they were sharper, like blades cutting into the display, and each spike coincided with a subtle, almost imperceptible rise in the background tone. It's, he began, then stopped. She waited. It's not breathing anymore. Are you sure? Yes, because now I'm breathing for it. The words were almost swallowed by the line, but they landed heavy. His own breaths were growing slower, matching the unnatural rhythm from earlier. Long, deliberate, with no pause between inhale and exhale. Sir, you need to break that rhythm. Do you hear me? Take a deep breath. Now exhale faster. I can't, he interrupted. If I break it, it might come closer. There was a faint static hiss, as if the air in the call itself had been charged. And then, without warning, the breathing came back. Not from behind, from directly in front. The microphone caught the first inhale like a rush of cold water. The peaks on the waveform slammed upward, distorting for a fraction of a second before settling into a trembling oscillation. The sound was heavy, but what made it worse was the direction. You could hear how close it was to his face, how still he must have been for it to get that near without him flinching. It's right in front of me, he whispered. His words quivered, but not from volume, from restraint. But I can't see anything. The operator swallowed, her voice low now. Don't move, we're almost there. But even she knew. Distance didn't matter anymore. The breathing faded, but the silence it left behind wasn't clean. There was something in it, faint at first, like the whisper of dust settling, then clearer, sharper. The brittle hiss of static. It wasn't loud enough to drown him out, but it wasn't natural either. The operator's mind went to old radios, the kind that still used dials, that thin electric snow you'd hear when sliding between frequencies. It was that, but there was something under it. A pattern. She leaned closer to the console. Sir, where are you right now in the house? Her voice was steady, but her eyes stayed fixed on the waveform. The man's reply started immediately. I'm in the, then broke, not because he stopped, because the call removed the rest. His voice came back half a second later, mid-sentence, like a splice in a damaged tape. Corner of the room, back, wall. The gap was surgical. The kind of interruption that didn't sound like static at all, more like someone had taken a blade to the conversation and cut out exactly what they didn't want heard. The hiss continued, low and constant. Then, woven inside it, came a different sound, a soft, mechanical click. "Sir, do you hear that?" she asked. "Hear what?" Click, louder now, then again, click. The third came almost on top of his next inhale, louder still, impossibly close, like it was inside the headset itself. Click. The last one had weight to it, not the sharp snap of electronics, but the wet, deliberate sound of something hard meeting something softer. The waveform reacted violently. Each click fractured into jagged peaks, rising higher than the rest of the call, thin lines spiking up like claws tearing through the display. She'd seen waveforms spike from shouting, from slamming doors, even from explosions. But this was different. It was too precise, too intentional. "Sir, where exactly?" she began, but stopped. The static changed, not in volume, but in shape. It had a rhythm now, a slow fade in, a slow fade out, as if something was breathing through the interference. "It's not in the room anymore," he said suddenly. His voice had dropped again, soft enough that it almost vanished into the noise. "What do you mean?" "I think," he paused, "I think it's in the line." The operator's free hand tightened on the desk. "Sir, I need you to stay focused. If you can move to—" "No, if I move, it might follow the sound." The click came again, but only once this time, louder than all the rest. The peak slammed up on the display, so high it nearly clipped. She could hear the tension in his breathing now, not frantic but bracing, like someone holding still while a knife hovered inches from their skin. "It's closer when the line drops," he said quietly. "When the sound cuts out, that's when it moves." As if to prove the point, his next words were split. "And if it moves, I gap, can feel it behind my teeth." The operator didn't answer right away. She was listening, not to him, but to the noise. There were shapes in it. Not real shapes, not anything you could map, but impressions, like hearing a whisper through a wall and knowing someone's mouth is almost pressed against it. "Sir, you said earlier it was learning?" she asked. "Yes." The word came out flat, certain. "It wasn't like this before. It used to follow me in the house. Now it follows my voice." The static swelled for a second, then dipped as though agreeing. "I don't think it cares about the walls anymore," he continued. "I think it's figuring out which sounds are me and which aren't." "Why do you think that?" "Because it's not interrupting you as much," he said. "Only me. And the more I talk—" He didn't finish. The operator leaned in. "The more you talk—" "What?" The line went dead silent, not like a drop, but like something pressing a hand over the mouth of the call. Then, click, 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 each one spaced perfectly apart. The last landed so close it almost had an echo, but there was nothing for it to bounce off of. The operator swallowed. "Sir, what is it doing now?" There was a long pause. "It's listening." His voice was almost reverent now, like he wasn't sure if speaking about it would draw it nearer or invite it in. The static swelled again, louder than before, and for the briefest second, she thought she could hear another voice in it. Not words, just the shape of speech. The waveform was no longer steady. It rippled in long, slow waves, like the line itself was breathing. "Sir, we are minutes away from your location. Just keep talking to me." "No," his tone shifted. "If I keep talking, it will finish." "Finish what?" "Learning." The click came again, not a single sharp sound this time, but a dragging one, as though whatever made it was pulling itself closer with every second. The spike on the waveform bent unnaturally, like it didn't just record the sound, but absorbed it. The man inhaled sharply. "It's—" the word cut in half. The missing piece wasn't static now. It was gone, as if the line had never carried it. "Learning how to—" Another cut, then the final fragment, jagged and thin, like it had been forced through the smallest gap possible. "Talk." The static surged, drowning everything else for 2 seconds. Then, silence. "Sir?" The line stayed dead for half a beat. "It's—" His voice trembled for the first time since the call began. "Learning how to be me." The operator's skin prickled. Every instinct screamed to end the call, but she couldn't. Not yet. "Sir, I need you to—" The line split with a sudden burst of noise. Not just static now, but something deeper, lower, the kind of sound you feel in your ribs more than you hear. And buried inside it, almost impossible to catch, was a second voice. A perfect copy of his. Repeating her words a fraction of a second late, she froze. "Sir, it's—" Click. The last spike ripped upward, the tallest yet, shattering into splinters of digital noise. Learning how to— The rest never came. The line collapsed into a single crushing wave of static. And just before it cut entirely, his voice slipped through one last time. "It's— learning how—" The call died mid-syllable, leaving nothing but the faint, empty carrier tone. Hook end. "It's— learning how to—" Cut. The line hissed faintly in the aftermath of that last collapse, the static shrinking back into a thin, uneasy quiet. The operator took a breath, steadying her voice. "Sir, listen to me. You need to find a safe place. Lock the door. Keep the phone with you." She heard him inhale, but his reply wasn't immediate. When it came, it was almost a mutter, the words slipping out like he wasn't entirely speaking to her. "No. If I close my eyes, it'll stand closer." The tone in his voice was different now, not just fear, but certainty, as though he wasn't guessing, as though he'd tested it before. The operator frowned, pressing the headset tighter against her ear. "Sir, I need you to repeat that. Did you say—" She stopped. There it was. A sound from his end, not loud, but distinct. A slow creak, like weight shifting on old wood. Only it wasn't steady and it wasn't rhythmic, not the solid cadence of footsteps. This was broken, uneven, drawn out, a slide, a drag, as if something was pulling itself forward across the floor. She watched the waveform shiver with each faint movement. "Sir, is that you moving?" "No." His voice was a thin thread now, stretched tight. "It's the floor. It's feeling for me." She hesitated. "Feeling?" "It's not just moving over it, it's pressing into it, like it wants to know where the weak spots are." The creak came again, closer this time. And then, the breathing returned. She could tell immediately it wasn't the same as before. This wasn't the slow, deliberate inhale they'd heard earlier. This was faster, shallower, urgent, the kind of breathing you'd expect from something that had found what it was looking for. The operator's gut tightened. The waveform spiked and dropped in rapid bursts, the jagged peaks jittering like the line was flinching away from each sound. "Sir, it's moving toward you, isn't it?" "Not toward me," he whispered, "around me, like it's choosing where to stop." She could hear it now even when he didn't speak. Quick inhales, quick exhales, each one just a fraction of a second too long for a human. And underneath, a faint vibration, as if the air itself trembled with each breath. "Sir, go to another room," she said firmly. "Now, somewhere you can put a door between you and it." "There's no point," he murmured. "If I move, it'll follow the sound." "Then move slowly. Don't drag your feet. Keep your breathing quiet." "That doesn't matter," he cut in. "It doesn't follow my breathing. It follows my attention." The statement landed heavy in her ears. "Your attention? When I think about it, it gets closer. When I try not to, it makes sure I remember it's here." As if on cue, the breathing on the line intensified, filling the space between them. Each inhale seemed to pull at the edges of the call, like it was drawing the conversation into itself. "Sir, focus on me. Don't think about it." "I can't," he said flatly. "It's making sure of that." The drag on the wood was louder now, a wet scrape, almost like skin against the grain. Then the creak, stretched thin, bending upward, in pitch as though the floor was under more weight than it had ever held. The operator's fingers hovered over the keyboard, instinct telling her to request an immediate breach team. But something told her the door wouldn't matter. "Sir, Tell me exactly what you see right now. Nothing, he replied quickly. That's the problem. It's not hiding. It's blank. Blank? It's there, but my eyes slide off it, like it's behind the place I'm looking, no matter where I look. The breathing quickened again. The peaks on the waveform were tight now, clustered together like an arrhythmic heartbeat. Sir, it's agitated, she said without thinking. Why is it? Because it knows you're here, he interrupted. Not in the house, Rake, on the call. It's been learning you too. The words left a chill in her chest. She tried to regain control of her tone. You said earlier you were in the corner of the room. Can you put your back to the wall? I am, he said. It's still behind me. That sentence hung there, impossible and undeniable at the same time. The drag came again, this time from above. Her eyes flicked to the ceiling instinctively, though she knew it was useless. Sir, do you have any lights you can turn on? Number if I do, I'll see it, and I don't want to know exactly where it is. His breath hitched, but it's close now. I can hear its mouth open. The sound that followed was subtle but distinct, a wet parting, like lips drawing back just enough for the first thread of air to escape. And then, a single, sharp inhale, cutting clean into the line. The peak snapped upward, vibrating with a restless energy she could feel in her bones. Sir, can you move toward the door? No, he said again, voice tight. If I do, it might decide I'm trying to leave. You should leave. You don't understand. It doesn't like being alone. The breathing was faster now, almost matching his own pace, but heavier, more deliberate. She could picture it without wanting to, something leaning in close, not quite touching, but always there. Sir? Yes? What is it doing now? The line carried the faintest tremor of hesitation before he spoke. I think it's smiling. The way he said it, quiet, almost curious, more the words worse than a scream. There was no panic, no rush, just observation, like he'd been waiting to see this. The operator didn't reply. She couldn't. For the first time since the call began, she wasn't sure which one of them was in more danger. There was a pause after he said it, just long enough for the words to sink in. The operator took a slow breath, forcing her voice to stay level. Sir, can you see it right now? For a moment, only static answered. Then, yes. The way he said it made her lean closer to the console. What do you see? His answer came in a low, steady whisper, each word pressed out like it carried weight. I only see the eyes. A slight crackle bled into the line as he spoke, a trembling distortion that made it feel as though his voice was being pulled through something damp. White eyes, right where there shouldn't be light. The moment he said those last two words, the waveform reacted. Not with a spike, not with noise. It stretched. The section where he said white eyes elongated unnaturally, as though the sound itself refused to end. Layered beneath it, faint, almost inaudible, was another voice, lower, slower, repeating his words just a heartbeat behind. White eyes. The operator's hands froze over her keyboard. She recognized that pattern. She had heard something like it before, in case 449, the same doubled tone, the same unnatural lag, like the call had a shadow. Sir, is there any other light in the room? No, his voice didn't waver. The curtains are shut. No street lamps here, no moon tonight. And yet, his breathing quickened slightly, each inhale edged with something she couldn't name. Those eyes are still there. The static in the background shifted, not louder, but denser, the way heavy air changes the sound of your own breathing. It was the same interference pattern they'd logged in the camera feed from Glenwood Motel, a warped, bending noise that twisted in on itself, making you feel as though the line was curving. Sir, are the eyes moving? Number not yet. How far away are they? There was the faintest rustle, fabric against fabric, as if he tilted his head but kept his body frozen. I don't know, that's the thing. They look close, but when I blink, they feel further. Do they blink back? No. His tone was flat, almost resentful. They don't need to. The operator's gut tightened. Describe the shape around them. There is no shape, he replied. It's like the eyes exist by themselves, but not floating. They're anchored to something I can't see. The dark around them isn't empty. It's thicker. The static flared for a fraction of a second, bending the line into a brief, shrill warble before dropping back. Sir, I need you to slowly back away. No. The word was sharper than she expected. If I move, I'll lose sight of them. And if I lose sight, I think they'll be somewhere else when I look again. The doubled voice came again, softer this time, almost under the noise. Somewhere else. The operator fought the urge to mute the feed. Every training instinct told her to isolate his voice from the distortion, but another part of her needed to hear what it was doing. Sir, are the eyes still fixed on you? Yes. A slight tremor now. They don't blink, don't shift, but they widen sometimes, only a little. What does that mean? It means it's enjoying this. His words seemed to settle in the static, sinking beneath the noise before the hum of the line took them away. The interference was heavier now, like the call was trying to pull something through. Sir, is there anything between you and it? Only the dark. No furniture? No wall? If there is, it's not stopping it. The operator's hand hovered over her emergency ping key, but she kept him talking. Sir, what's it doing now? It's leaning forward. I can tell because the white gets bigger, brighter. The waveform stretched again on the word brighter, bending unnaturally until the sound had a faint echo, a repeat not caused by any device. She leaned into her mic. Is it moving? Yes, slowly. He inhaled, shallow and quick. It's not walking. I think it's pulling itself toward me, not with legs, with something else. What do you mean, something else? Like the floor's letting it. His voice cracked for the first time. I can't hear the creaks anymore, but I can feel them. The static broke into small bursts, each one accompanied by a slight tug in the background tone. It was the same pattern they'd documented when a camera feed distorted, the kind that came with proximity. Sir, can you still see the eyes? Yes, they're lower now. It's lowering itself. Why? So it can come up again. His breathing hitched. It's not standing. It's on all fours now. A sharp scrape of wood broke through the line, followed by a warbling shift in the static. The operator felt her chest tighten. Sir, I want you to... No, if I move, it'll be faster than me. The line wavered. She could almost feel the eyes through his words, through the way the distortion bent around each syllable. Sir, what is it doing now? There was a long pause. Then, with a voice so thin she could barely hear it, he said, It's climbing. Climbing. Yes. His breath was shaky now. It's pulling itself. Up. The bed frame. She blinked. You're on the bed? Yes. How long? Since before I called. I thought, if I stayed here, I could see the door. But now, his voice broke again. Now it's here. The doubled voice came one last time, almost perfectly aligned with his own, not repeating this time, but speaking in sync. It's climbing. The waveform shook violently, peaking in jagged bursts before dipping into a deep, low hum. The static warped around it, bending the edges of the call until the background almost sounded liquid. Sir, what do you see? His answer came without hesitation. 2 white eyes and nothing else, but they're higher now. A faint thump sounded through the call, so soft it could have been mistaken for his heartbeat in the mic. Then another. Closer. Sir, it's on the bed. The words were so certain, so final, that the operator's mind went blank for half a second. She forced herself to speak. You need to get off that bed, now. Too late. His voice was almost calm again. It's already here. The line cracked once, then steadied. The breathing they'd heard earlier was gone. In its place, a quiet, deliberate stillness. And then, like a thread being pulled tight, "It's crawling up my bed." The words hung in the air. "It's crawling up my bed." And then the line shifted. His breathing, once uneven and fast, slowed into something quieter, sharper. The operator could tell instantly this wasn't calm, this was restraint, the kind of breathing you use when you're trying to disappear. "Sir, keep your voice low, but don't stop talking. Help is on the way." No response, just the faint rustle of bedsheets, slow, deliberate, like he was trying to move without actually moving. "Sir, can you hear me?" A pause. Then, so faint she almost missed it. "Yes." His voice was trembling now, not just shaking with fear, but breaking in small, uncontrollable stutters. "It's right here." The operator kept her tone steady, professional, but her eyes flicked to the waveform. His voice was getting weaker, smaller, as though the sound was being swallowed before it even reached the mic. "Stay on the line. Keep your phone close. We are tracking your location." A faint hiss crept into the background, not the normal hiss of static. This was thicker, layered, with a low undercurrent that pulsed in waves. "Sir, what's it doing now?" "Not moving, I think." He trailed off, the rest of the words dissolving into the hiss. The operator frowned, tapping her console to filter the noise, but it didn't help. The hiss wasn't distortion, it was pressure, and it was growing. "Sir, you need to keep speaking so I know you're still with me." "I'm here." His voice was even fainter now, almost lost under the swell of the interference. "It's leaning. Over me." The hiss thickened, folding in on itself until it wasn't just a background sound. It was the call. His words were being pushed to the edges, forced to fight for space. "Stay still," she said. "Don't make any sudden movements. They're only minutes away." He gave a shaky exhale. "It knows that." The hiss broke for a second, replaced by a sharper, tearing sound, like something brushing against the microphone's diaphragm. The waveform jumped, the peaks irregular, jagged. "Sir, is it—" "Shh." The word was so quiet it almost vanished. Then, after a heartbeat, "It's waiting for me to move." The interference began to roll now, not constant, but in surges, like waves hitting a shore. Each swell was stronger than the last, pushing his voice further down until it was almost submerged. The operator adjusted her headset. "Sir, whatever happens, do not—" Loud thud ripped through the line. It wasn't a slam, wasn't a drop. It was the sound of something heavy landing exactly where it wanted to. The waveform spiked into a violent peak, the tallest of the call so far, its edges fracturing into thin, splintered lines. Then, silence. Not static, not hiss, nothing. 1 second, 2. The operator leaned in, hardly breathing. "Sir?" A whisper broke through, fragile and raw. "It touched me." The last word was almost swallowed, as if it didn't want to be heard. And then, the connection cracked. A sharp, drawn-out click, rising in pitch like metal under strain, the exact sound pattern they'd logged in the corrupted tape from case 447. It went on too long, not seconds, but stretched, warped, as if the line itself didn't want to let go. The waveform bent with it, the peak holding unnaturally before snapping flat. Silence followed. The operator's console still showed the call as active, but the line was gone. The silence that followed the click was wrong. Not the absence of sound, but the kind of silence that feels like it's holding something in. Then, it broke. Not into the steady hiss of static, but into a full collapse. The audio shattered into a wall of white noise, a rushing, tearing wash that filled every inch of the channel. The operator winced as it hit her ears, reaching for the volume, but she stopped. There was something in it. Buried under the chaotic hiss, the waveform on her console was changing. It wasn't random anymore. The jagged peaks began to pulse, slow, steady, like a heartbeat. Each swell rose higher than the last, then fell away in perfect rhythm. She leaned forward, scanning for any trace of his voice. Nothing. Just the white noise breathing in time with something unseen. Then it came. A whisper. Low, single-toned, perfectly centered in the mix. So faint she almost thought it was an artifact, until she recognized it. The same voice from the end of case 447, the same pattern, the same deliberate dragging syllables. Stay awake. The words bled into the hiss, stretching until the last vowel seemed to dissolve into the rushing noise. Her fingers hovered over the disconnect key, but she couldn't press it. She didn't want to hear it again, but she needed to. And then, the line cut. No fade, no warning, just absence. The console clock ticked over into the next second. For 3 long beats there was nothing. No audio, no hum. Just the thin dead air of a line gone cold. But the waveform didn't vanish. It stayed there, flat, lifeless, frozen on the screen. Above it, the red letters still blinked, classified. The pulse of the word matched the phantom heartbeat she'd seen seconds before, each flash slow enough to make her chest tighten. Then, the fade began. The letters dimmed, the waveform dissolved into black, and in the empty frame, a single line of text appeared. White, sharp, unmistakable. Case 452. Link to Glenwood Motel, Room 6, fade to black.